Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge window of the EU's Discovery, watching the massive alien ships form a wall in front of them.
How?
After 2 years traveling to the Alpha Centauri system, they had finally met other intelligent life. The meeting was not going as anyone on Earth had hoped. The alien fleet had appeared without warning, just as the Discovery was preparing to land on the new world they planned to call Haven. 12 different ship designs filled the space around them, each one bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The ships looked like they were made of crystal and metal that bent light in strange ways. Some had long spikes coming out of them. Others looked like giant flowers made of steel. "Captain, we're getting another transmission," said Lieutenant Rodriguez from the communications station. His voice was tight with worry. "Put it through," Sarah said. She straightened her uniform and tried to look confident. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern and skin that looked like blue-green scales.
Oh.
2 smaller beings stood behind it, but Sarah could not see them clearly. "I am Ambassador Zektar of the Galactic Council Hegemony," the alien said. Its voice came through the translation device as cold and formal. "You will listen carefully to what I tell you, humans." Sarah nodded. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Discovery. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations with your people." Zektar made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded more like metal scraping against stone. "Peace? You speak of peace when you invade our territory without permission? When you claim worlds that belong to the Council? We had no knowledge of your claim to this system," Sarah said carefully. "Our deep space survey showed no signs of intelligent life here. We would be happy to discuss territorial boundaries and find a solution that works for everyone." "There is only one solution," Zektar said. The alien leaned forward, and Sarah could see rows of sharp teeth when it spoke. "You will return to your home world immediately. You will also provide the Council with 80% of your planet's rare earth minerals as payment for this invasion. You will submit to Council oversight of all your space activities. You will accept Council representatives on your world to make sure you follow our rules." The bridge went silent. Sarah felt her crew watching her, waiting for her response. Had trained for first contact scenarios, but nothing like this. Behind Zektar, she could see other aliens nodding in agreement. They all looked confident, like they had done this many times before. "Those are very serious demands," Sarah said slowly. "I do not have the authority to agree to such terms. I would need to consult with my government on Earth." "You have 72 of your hours to give us an answer," Zektar said. "If you refuse, we will place an economic blockade around your system. No ships will be allowed to leave or enter. If you continue to refuse after that, we will be forced to take military action." "To protect Council interests?" Sarah felt cold fear in her stomach, but she kept her voice steady. "May I ask why the Council believes it has the right to make these demands?" Zektar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "The Council has maintained peace and order in this galaxy for over 3,000 years. We have seen what happens when primitive species are allowed to expand without guidance. War, destruction, chaos. It is better for everyone if new species learn their place early. And if we agree to your terms, what happens then? You'll be allowed to develop under Council supervision. Time, perhaps in a few centuries, you may be considered for junior membership in our organization. Until then, you will follow our rules and contribute to the greater good of galactic civilization." Sarah nodded again, but inside she was thinking fast. The alien's words sounded reasonable on the surface, but she could hear the threat underneath. This was not a negotiation. It was a demand for surrender. "I understand your position," she said. "As I mentioned, I will need to consult with my superiors on Earth. May we have permission to send a communication to our homeworld?" "You may send one message," Zektar said. "But be warned, we will be monitoring all your communications. Do not attempt to call for military assistance. Your primitive weapons would be useless against Council technology anyway." Transmission ended, and the alien ships moved into a loose circle around the Discovery. They were close enough to attack quickly, but far enough away to avoid any desperate action from the humans. "Well, that could have gone better," said Dr. Marcus Webb from his position at the science station. The xenobiologist had been excited about meeting aliens for months. Now he looked pale and worried. Options? Zara asked her crew. We could try to run, suggested Lieutenant Rodriguez. Jump back to the Sol system and warn Earth. They would. Follow us, said Commander Janet Brooks, Sarah's second in command. And then Earth would face the same ultimatum with alien ships already in our system. Sarah walked to the window again and looked out at the alien fleet. Each ship was probably carrying enough firepower to destroy the Discovery 10 times over. But something about the situation felt wrong to her. The aliens seemed too confident, too sure that humanity would simply give up. Send the message to Earth, she told Rodriguez, using Encryption Protocol 7. Make sure to include all our sensor data on the alien ships. Yes, Captain. What should the message say? Sarah thought for a moment. We're at contact with a galactic government. Tell them the situation is complex and requires immediate attention from the highest levels. And tell them, ... double quotes, she paused. Tell them to be ready for anything. As Rodriguez began preparing the transmission, Sarah continued to watch the alien ships. Somewhere far away, Earth was about to learn that humanity was not alone in the universe. She just hoped they would also learn it in time to do something about it. The Discovery hung in space. Between the alien fleet and the world they had hoped to colonize. 72 hours suddenly seemed like a very short time. 3 days later, Captain Sarah Chen received Earth's response. She read the encrypted message twice before calling her senior officers to the conference room. The message was short but clear. Play along. Gather intelligence. Help is coming. Sarah looked around the table at her crew. Commander Brooks sat straight in her chair, her face showing nothing. Dr. Webb was studying his tablet, making notes about the alien species they had encountered. Lieutenant Rodriguez looked nervous but ready. Earth wants us to cooperate with the Council demands, Sarah said carefully. She knew the aliens were probably listening to everything they said. We're going to agree to their terms and return home. Dr. Webb looked up from his tablet. That seems like the wise choice, Captain. We're clearly outmatched here. Sarah nodded, but she caught the small smile on Webb's face. He understood what was really happening. Yes, we'll send our acceptance to Ambassador Zektar within the hour. In the meantime, continue all standard operations. What the aliens didn't know was that standard operations meant something very different for the Discovery than it appeared. The ship's communication array looked primitive to alien sensors, but it was actually recording everything. Every energy. Signature. Every ship movement. Every piece of alien technology was being cataloged and transmitted back to Earth in ways the Council couldn't detect. The next morning, Zektar's face appeared on the main screen again. Have you reached a decision? Humans? We have, Sarah said, trying to sound defeated. Earth has agreed to your terms. We will return home immediately and begin gathering the materials you requested. A wise choice, Zektar said. His 4 eyes seemed pleased. You will have one. Of your months to deliver the first shipment of minerals, Council inspectors will arrive at your world in 45 days to establish our oversight operations. We understand, Sarah said. May I ask how many inspectors you plan to send? That is not your concern. You will provide them with whatever facilities they require. Zektar paused. Do not think you can deceive us humans. We have dealt with dozens of species like yours. They all believed they were special at first. They all learned otherwise. The transmission ended, and Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. But not from fear, from anger. The alien's words revealed something important. The Council had done this before, many times. They had turned first contact into a tool for conquest. Over the next 2 weeks, as the Discovery prepared for its journey, home Dr. Webb made several disturbing discoveries. He had been studying the alien ship formations and communication patterns, pretending to be fascinated by their technology. Captain, he said during one of their private meetings, I don't think these species have ever fought a real war. What do you mean? Sarah asked. Look at their ship formations. They're impressive, but inefficient. Their weapons are powerful, but slow to target. Their shields are strong, but inflexible. Webb pulled up his analysis on the conference room screen. Everything about their military suggests they've only fought against much weaker opponents. Commander Brooks leaned forward. You're saying they're bullies who have never met anyone who could fight back? Exactly. There's something else. Webb changed the display to show biological data. From what I can tell, most of these species evolved on worlds with very stable conditions. No ice ages, no major catastrophes, no significant predator pressure. They've never had to adapt quickly or fight for survival. Sarah felt a cold smile cross her face. Unlike humans, Webb agreed. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us in every possible way. Ice ages, volcanoes, diseases, predators, climate change. We learned to adapt or die. These aliens learned to cooperate and dominate. As the Discovery began its journey back to Earth, Sarah noticed something else. The alien escort ships that followed them were recording everything just as carefully as the humans were, but they were looking for the wrong things. They scanned for weapons and military technology. They measured the Discovery's speed and power output. They cataloged its defensive capabilities. They completely missed the most important details. They didn't notice that the ship's navigation system was far more advanced than it appeared. They didn't realize that the crew compartments were designed for much higher acceleration than any human should be able to survive. They didn't understand that the Discovery's simple-looking hull was actually made from materials that shouldn't exist according to their science. Most importantly, they didn't notice the small devices that Dr. Webb had been quietly deploying throughout their journey. The devices looked like space debris or natural cosmic dust to alien sensors. In reality, they were relay stations that would allow Earth to monitor Council activities across dozens of star systems. During the long journey home, Sarah received regular updates from Earth through the hidden communication channels. She made her feel much better about humanity's chances. The Council had made their first mistake. When they assumed Earth was a typical newly spacefaring world, in reality, humans had been traveling between stars for much longer than anyone suspected. The Discovery was not humanity's first interstellar ship. It was just the first one they had allowed aliens to see. Earth's response to the Council's ultimatum was not fear or submission. It was cold, calculated anger. The planet's hidden military forces were already moving into position. Ships that had been disguised as asteroids for decades were powering up their weapons. Colonies that the Council had never detected were preparing for war. But the most important preparation was happening in Earth's intelligence networks. Every piece of data that Sarah and her crew had gathered was being analyzed by the best minds humanity had ever produced. Scientists who had spent their entire lives studying warfare, engineers who had designed weapons that could crack planets, strategists who had planned for this exact scenario. The Council thought they were dealing with primitive humans who had just learned to travel between stars. They had no idea they were facing a species that had been preparing for galactic war. For over a century, as the Discovery approached the outer edge of the Sol system, Sarah received one final message from Earth. It contained new orders and a single piece of information that made her smile. The Council had 45 days to send their inspectors to Earth. They would arrive exactly on schedule, but they would not find what they expected. They would find humanity's real face. And by then, it would be far too late to run. Admiral Kashmari of the Council Third Fleet watched the red planet Mars grow larger on his command screen. His orders were simple: destroy the human mining colony. There is a warning to Earth. Show these primitive creatures what happened when they moved too slowly to obey Council demands. It had been 30 days since the humans agreed to Council terms. But the mineral shipments had not arrived. Worse, Earth's government was asking for delays and making excuses. They claimed they needed more time to organize the mining operations. They said their people were having trouble accepting the new situation. The Council had heard all these excuses before from other species. It always meant the same thing. The primitives were hoping for a miracle that would save them. They needed to be taught that no such miracle would come. How many ships are defending the colony? Kashmari asked his tactical officer. None, Admiral. Our long-range sensors show only mining equipment and habitat domes. Perhaps 500 humans total.
Oh.
No military vessels detected. Kashmari nodded. Perfect. A defenseless target would make the best example. Are our broadcasts ready? Yes, Admiral. As soon as we attack, our message will be transmitted to Earth and all human colonies. They will see what happens to those who defy the Council. The Council fleet consisted of 50 warships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. Their energy weapons could melt through mountains. Their shields could stop attacks from entire planetary defense grids. Against a mining colony, with no military protection, they were massive overkill. But that was the point. The Council did not want a fair fight. They wanted total domination. All ships, assume attack formation, Keshmari ordered. Target the largest habitat dome first. We want survivors to spread word of what they witnessed. On Mars, Colony Administrator Lisa Park watched the alien fleet approach on her monitoring station. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She had been expecting this attack for weeks. All colonists to emergency shelters, she announced over the colony's communication system. Her voice was steady and showed no fear. This is not a drill. Pete, all personnel to emergency shelters immediately. The colonists moved quickly, but without panic. They had practiced this drill many times. Within minutes, the surface of Mars looked empty except for the mining equipment and dome structures. But Lisa remained at her post in the command center, along with a small technical crew. They had work to do. Contact established with Earth, reported technical specialist James Wong from his console. They confirmed they are recording everything. Good, Lisa said. Now, let's see what these aliens can actually do. The Council fleet opened fire at maximum range. 50 ships unleashed their energy weapons at the same time. The barrage was designed to completely destroy the colony in the first attack. The energy beams struck the colony's shields and stopped. Admiral Keshmari stared at his tactical display in confusion. The readings made no sense. His fleets combined. Firepower should have been enough to destroy a small moon. Instead, the human colony's defensive shields were barely showing any damage at all. Increase power to maximum, he ordered. All ships, full bombardment. God. The second attack was even more intense than the first. The space around Mars lit up like a small sun as the Council weapons fired continuously for nearly 10 minutes. The energy output was enough to boil away an ocean. When the light faded, the Mars colony was completely undamaged. Impossible, whispered Keshmari's tactical officer. Our sensors must be malfunctioning. But the sensors were working perfectly. They clearly showed the human colony still standing, its shields barely even glowing from the absorbed energy. More disturbing, the colony was not returning fire. The humans were just sitting there, waiting. Then a transmission came from the colony. Lisa Park's face appeared on the main screen, and she was smiling. Council fleet, this is Mars Colony Administrator Lisa Park. We have recorded your unprovoked attack on civilian targets. This recording is being transmitted to Earth and will be shared with all human colonies and outposts. Keshmari found his voice impossible. Your shields cannot withstand our weapons. What technology are you using? The same technology we've been using for over 80 years, Lisa replied calmly. The technology that every human colony and outpost has been equipped with since we first left Earth. The technology that you assumed we didn't have because we're supposedly primitive. You're lying, Keshmari said, but his voice sounded uncertain, even to himself. Lisa's smile grew wider. Admiral, you've just spent 10 minutes firing your most powerful weapons at what you thought was a defenseless mining colony. You haven't even scratched our paint. What does that tell you about how defenseless we really are? The Council fleet hung in space, their weapons powered down and useless. For the first time in 3,000 years of galactic dominance, they had encountered something they couldn't simply destroy. This is not possible, Keshmari said again. Your species has only been in space for a few decades. Our intelligence reports clearly state that you are a primitive, newly spacefaring race. Your intelligence reports are wrong, Lisa said. That's not really the important part right now. The important part is that you just attacked a civilian colony without warning. That's what we humans call an act of war. Admiral Keshmari felt cold fear creep up his spine. He had commanded Council fleets for over 40 years. He had conquered 12 different species. He had never failed to destroy his target. "What are your demands?" he asked quietly. "We don't have any demands," Lisa replied. "We're civilians. We're just going to continue mining and living our lives. But we will be reporting this attack to our military. What they decide to do about it is up to them." The transmission ended, leaving the Council fleet in silence. Keshmari stared at the undamaged colony for a long time. His weapons were useless. His intelligence was wrong. His orders had led him into a trap that he didn't even understand. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Keshmari gave the order to retreat. As the Council ships turned away from Mars, Lisa Park sent one final message to Earth. It was only 3 words long, but those words would change the course of galactic history. Phase 2 complete. On Earth, military commanders who had been waiting for decades received the signal. The Council had taken the bait. They had revealed their weapons, their tactics, and most importantly, their weaknesses. Now it was time for humanity to show the galaxy what they were really capable of. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike any meeting in their 3,000-year history. Representatives from all 12 member species gathered in the Great Crystal Chamber on Nexus Prime, their faces showing fear and confusion. Ambassador Zektar stood at the center podium, his 4 eyes darting nervously around the room. The human colony on Mars survived a full bombardment from 50% of our best warships. Admiral Keshmari reports that their weapons had no effect whatsoever. High Counselor Vashti of the Ethereal Collective raised one of her 6 arms. Her voice came out as musical tones that the translation system turned into words. "Impossible. Our intelligence clearly shows that humans only achieved interstellar travel recently. They should have no advanced defensive technology." "Yet the evidence is clear," said Counselor Thicron of the Stone Builders. His rocky face showed deep concern. "Either our intelligence is completely wrong, or the humans have been deceiving us from the beginning." Ambassador Zektar activated the holographic display at the center of the chamber. It showed the recording from the Mars attack. The Council members watched in silence as their most powerful weapons struck the human shields and simply stopped. "There is more troubling news," Zektar continued. 3 days ago, we lost contact with our monitoring stations in the Outer Rim territories. Yesterday, 2 of our patrol fleets reported strange sensor readings before their transmissions cut off. The chamber erupted in worried voices speaking different alien languages. The translation system struggled to keep up with the overlapping conversations. "Hi," Counselor Vashti raised her arms for silence. "Are you suggesting that the humans are responsible for these disappearances?" "I'm suggesting that we may have seriously underestimated this species," Zektar replied. "I recommend we send a larger fleet to Earth immediately. We need to show them that the Council will not be intimidated." But before anyone could respond, the Chamber's emergency alert system activated. A junior aide rushed in and whispered something to High Counselor Vashti. Her musical voice became sharp with alarm. "Council members, we have an urgent situation. A single human ship has just entered this system and is approaching Nexus Prime." The Great Chamber fell silent. Nexus Prime was the most heavily defended world in Council space. It was surrounded by orbital weapons platforms, energy barriers, and 3 full battle fleets. No enemy ship had ever gotten close to the planet. "How is that possible?" demanded Counselor Thicron. "Our defenses should have detected and destroyed any approaching vessel." "The ship appeared without warning," the aide reported. "Our sensors show no energy signature, no propulsion system, no weapons. It is as if it simply materialized in our space." Admiral Keshmari, who had been silent until now, stood up slowly. His recent failure at Mars had left him shaken, but his military training took over. "Show us the vessel."
The holographic display
Changed to show the space around Nexus Prime. At first, Council members saw nothing but empty space and their own defense platforms. Then the aide adjusted the sensors, and they saw it. The human ship looked small and ordinary compared to Council vessels. It had the same basic design as the Discovery, with simple lines and basic hull materials. Nothing about it seemed threatening or impressive. "That cannot be all there is," Admiral Keshmari said. "Our sensors must be missing something." As if responding to his words, the human ship began to change. The outer hull started to fall away in sections, revealing something underneath that. Made no sense to Council science. The ship was bigger inside than outside, much bigger. As more of the disguise fell away, the Council members saw a vessel that defied their understanding of physics. It seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. With parts of it fading in and out of normal space, energy readings showed power levels that registered as small stars. "By the void," whispered High Counselor Vashti. "What are we looking at?" The answer came as a transmission from the human ship. The main screen activated, and a new human face appeared. This was a woman with short gray hair and the bearing of someone used to command. Her uniform was different from Captain Chen's, with more symbols and decorations. "Greetings, Galactic Council. I am Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Terran Defense Force. I bring a message from Earth." Ambassador Zektar stepped forward, trying to regain some authority. "Admiral, you have entered Council space without permission. Our vessel will be destroyed if you do not surrender immediately." Your Admiral Vasquez smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Ambassador, I think you misunderstood the situation. I am not here to surrender. I am here to deliver Earth's response to your ultimatum." "What response?" Zektar demanded. "Your species agreed to our terms. You have been slow to comply. But you agreed." "We agreed to consider your offer," Admiral Vasquez corrected. "We have now finished our consideration. Our answer is no." The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Several representatives started shouting about human arrogance and the need for immediate military action. But Admiral Vasquez continued speaking, and her voice somehow cut through all the noise. "For 3,000 years, your council has used fear and intimidation to control other species. You find newly spacefaring races and force them to submit before they can develop proper defenses. You have turned First Contact into a tool of conquest." High Counselor Vashti managed to restore order in the chamber. "Admiral, your species is vastly outnumbered. You face the combined might of 12 advanced civilizations. Your defiance is meaningless, is it?" Admiral Vasquez asked. "Tell me, Counselor, how long do you think humanity has been traveling between the stars?" "Our intelligence reports indicate approximately 50 years, Vashti replied. Admiral Vasquez laughed, and the sound sent chills through every council member present. "Your intelligence reports are wrong. Humanity has been spacefaring for over 2 centuries. We've been watching your council for almost as long. We have colonies and outposts and systems you have never even heard of." The holographic display changed again, showing star maps that made the council members gasp. Hundreds of human settlements spread across the galaxy, many in systems the council had thought were empty or unexplored. "The ship you saw arrive at Alpha Centauri was not our first interstellar vessel," Admiral Vasquez continued. "It was simply the first one we allowed you to see. We wanted to know what kind of people you were. Now we know." Ambassador Zektar found his voice. "Even if this is true, you are still only 1 species against 12. Our combined fleets number in the thousands." "Yes," Admiral Vasquez agreed. "And how many ships do you think humanity has built? In 200 years of hidden expansion?" The question hung in the air like a death sentence. For the first time in their history, the Galactic Council faced an enemy that might actually be stronger than they were. Admiral Vasquez leaned forward on the screen. "You have one chance to end this peacefully. Withdraw all claims on Earth and human space. Leave us alone, and we will leave you alone. Continue your threats, and you will learn why every predator on Earth learned to fear humans." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in complete silence. Outside, the human ship waited for their answer. The Galactic Council deliberated for 6 hours behind closed doors. When they emerged, High Counselor Vashti's musical voice carried a tone of defiance that surprised even her fellow council members. "The council has reached a decision," she announced to Admiral Vasquez, whose ship still waited in orbit around Nexus Prime. "We do not accept your demands. Council has maintained order in this galaxy for 3 millennia. We will not be intimidated by one upstart species, regardless of how long you claim to have been hiding in space." Admiral Vasquez nodded slowly, as if she had expected this answer. I see. And you speak for all 12 member species? We do, Ambassador Zektar added, stepping forward. Furthermore, we demand that you surrender your vessel immediately. Your technology will be studied and integrated into Council forces. Your colonies will be occupied. Your homeworld will submit to total Council authority. Very well, Admiral Vasquez said quietly. You have made your choice. Now you will live with the consequences. The transmission ended. For a moment, nothing happened. The Council defense fleets maintained their positions around Nexus Prime. The orbital weapons platforms powered up their energy cannons. Everyone waited for the single human ship to make its move. Then space began to change. At first, it looked like stars were moving in the distance. Small points of light that had been in the same positions for millions of years suddenly shifted. But as the Council's sensors focused on these moving lights, the terrible truth became clear. They were not stars. They were ships. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. Human vessels of every size and design materialized throughout Council space, dropping their stealth systems and revealing themselves for the first time. They had been there all along, hidden and waiting. On Nexus Prime, Admiral Keshmari stared at his tactical display in horror. This is impossible. Our sensors showed empty space. How long have they been there? His tactical officer's voice shook as he replied. Sir, based on the positioning and the way they revealed themselves, some of these ships have been in place for decades. Maybe longer. The Council's 3 battle fleets found themselves surrounded by human vessels that had appeared from nowhere. But the humans did not attack. They simply waited, their weapons powered, but not firing. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Every Council military base, every government facility, every important world found itself under the shadow of human ships that had somehow been invisible until now. High Counselor Vashti tried to contact her own home world and discovered that her people's capital city was surrounded by human vessels in low orbit. The same was true for every Council member species. In the span of minutes, the balance of power in the galaxy had completely reversed. Admiral Vasquez's face appeared on screens throughout Council space simultaneously. Every communication system in 12 different civilizations carried her message. People of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice calm and steady. For 3,000 years, your governments have maintained power through fear and intimidation. They have forced newly discovered species to submit or be destroyed. They have turned the galaxy into a place where might makes right. On a dozen different worlds, civilians looked up at the sky and saw human ships hovering peacefully overhead. The vessels made no threatening moves, but their mere presence was message enough. 17 minutes ago, your leaders chose to continue this policy of domination rather than accept peaceful coexistence. They demanded that humanity surrender to their authority. We have given our answer. Admiral Vasquez paused, and across the galaxy, people held their breath. Every Council military installation has been surrounded and neutralized. Every government building is under our observation. Every communication system is now broadcasting this message. This operation has been completed without firing a single shot or harming a single civilian. In the Council chamber on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Zektar watched his homeworld's defense fleet surrender without resistance. The human ships that surrounded them had weapons that made Council technology look like children's toys. He whispered, "How did we never see them coming?" Admiral Vasquez continued her broadcast. Your leaders assumed that humanity was primitive because we appeared to be newly spacefaring. They made this assumption because it fit their pattern of conquest. They never considered that we might be allowing them to see only what we wanted them to see. The holographic displays throughout Council space showed the true extent of human expansion. Colonies in the void between galaxies. Mining operations in the heart of stars. Cities built inside the event horizons of black holes. Technology that made the impossible look routine. We have been preparing for this moment for over 2 centuries, Admiral Vasquez said. Not because we wanted war, but because we knew that sooner or later we would encounter a civilization like yours. A civilization that saw new species as threats to be conquered rather than neighbors to befriend. On Nexus Prime, High Counselor. Vashti felt her legs give out. She sank into her chair as the full scope of humanity's deception became clear. Every intelligence report had been wrong. Every assumption had been false. The Council had been dancing to humanity's tune from the very beginning. Your leaders now face a choice, Admiral Vasquez continued. They can order their forces to attack, knowing that doing so will result in the complete destruction of their military capabilities. Or they can accept that the age of Council domination is over. In the Council chamber, 12 representatives of advanced civilizations sat in stunned silence. Their fleets were surrounded. Their worlds were defenseless. Their entire way of life had been revealed as a house of cards that humanity could collapse at any moment. Ambassador Zektar was the first to speak. What do you want from us? Admiral Vasquez's image appeared on the chamber's main screen. We want what we have always wanted, to be left alone, to live our lives in peace. But since your council has made that impossible, we are prepared to offer something else. What? High Counselor Vashti asked weakly. Partnership. Real partnership. Based on mutual respect rather than domination, we will share our technology and our knowledge with any species willing to abandon the old ways of conquest and intimidation. We will protect the galaxy from external threats that none of us could face alone. Admiral Vasquez leaned forward, and her voice became harder. But make no mistake, the days when the strong could simply take what they wanted from the weak are over. We will not tolerate it from you, and we will not allow you to do it to others. The silence in the council chamber stretched for a full minute. Finally, High Counselor Vashti found her voice. We surrender, she said quietly. The Galactic Council formally surrenders to human authority. No, Admiral Vasquez corrected. You surrender to the idea that all species have the right to exist freely. We are not here to replace your council with human rule. We are here to replace your council with something better. 6 months later, the former council worlds had begun to adapt to their new reality. The threat of conquest had been replaced by offers of genuine cooperation. Species that had lived in fear for millennia found themselves free to develop and explore without interference. Admiral Bolt Squay stood on the observation deck of the space station that had once been the Council's seat of power. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see ships from a dozen different species working together on joint projects. Captain. Sarah Chen joined her at the window. Any regrets about how we handled this? Admiral Vasquez shook her head. We gave them every chance to choose peace. They chose domination instead. Sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to show them what real strength looks like. Outside, human ships continued their patient watch over the galaxy. They were no longer hidden, no longer pretending to be weak. They were guardians now, protectors. Of a new age where strength served peace rather than conquest, the Council had tried to blackmail humanity into submission. Instead, they had learned that some species should never be threatened, and the galaxy was better for it.